there's only so much to say with only two people on a subject of a trailer, of only one trailer. Although I'm pretty sure you liked the Sonic trailer far more than I did.
Yeah, because I like it because I don't care if it's bad. Like,
You're,
I
I,
just like it that it exists. Hey, this is Marc with a C. Different person introing us today. Uh, I'm here with Rob,
yo, what's up? Hello.
and it's just the two of us today.
Yeah, just a solo duo. Solo duo. That's not a real sentence. Let's just call it a nice little concise twofer.
Yeah, we're trying something new. We're doing something different.
Yeah.
The reason why is because I had this weird little idea that I was itching to uh turn into something, and Rob's gonna join me for it. So um yeah. Oh, this is memory slot A. Forgot to say that.
Ha! So that's
Uh
who we are. I almost
yeah.
forgot who we were for a moment here.
Oops.
But yeah,
Hey, this is my first time doing this, so
that's fine. I'm glad to be aboard. Well, it's
yeah.
always fun to be talking with friends here.
Yeah, so
Always
this
very
is
nice.
this is the idea. I played a couple of games this year, and so we're about what, the halfway point of the year, just about halfway
Pretty
in.
much, yeah.
Uh, so in the past 6 months, I played three games that I really loved, uh, and there's a bit of a common theme between the three of them. So I thought that it would be really cool to sit down and think about those games and uh, talk about why I love them so much and for the completely different reasons why. So the theme that ties them all together is that they are Japanese action games, right? It's pretty,
Mm.
you know, broad, but the thing is, the three games, so they're Kingdom Hearts 3, Devil May Cry 5, and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, all came out like in pretty quick succession, and at least to my knowledge, that hasn't, like, three hits like that big that have been so successful haven't really come out in such a short span of time in a long time, at least
And
as far as I can remember.
the genre of Japanese action games I feel like are pretty niche, and I feel like this year we've been hit with like three good ones right off the bat. It's very
Yeah, I
hard to
mean, I
find.
mean, think about it. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and the most recent mainline Kingdom Hearts 2 was like 13 years ago.
Oh,
So that's like, it's not like they're coming out every single year. And Devil May Cry 5, what
when was
was
the
it?
last Devil May Cry?
So the last Devil May Cry was the DMC like remake.
Oh,
Remember
right.
that?
I
That
forgot. Yeah,
people
that
people are
thing.
really split
People.
on. And that was
Mhm.
on that was still what, like 2013 or something? That was still kind of a
Oh,
while ago.
that was quite a while. It's like half a decade ago in real perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you think about when 4 came out, which I don't remember the year, I'm gonna take a guess and say it's like 2009
Uh,
or something.
you were close. I'm looking at it right now. It's 2008. But
Okay,
yeah, that's 11 years. That's again a decade since the last numbered entry. And it's the same
exactly.
vein as Kingdom Hearts. Thinking about it.
Yeah, I know it's interesting. I'm not as keyed into the fandom there, but I bet there was the same kind of like crazy itching excitement for that game, similar to Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, sure.
And then the third one, Sekiro. I mean, the most recent From game was Bloodborne, which was 2014. I
So
I
again, five
believe.
years since that. That's
Yeah, I believe it
yeah.
was 2014, maybe 2015, but still, yeah, still a handful of years. So then they all came out within the same really 4-month stretch, because it was what, Kingdom Hearts was the end of January,
January. Uh huh.
then Devil May Cry was February, right? I'm
Uh
pretty
huh.
sure, and oh, in 3 months, and then Sekiro was the end of
So
March.
so basically Q1.
Yep.
Like all of Q1, like spread out evenly almost.
Yeah, isn't
March
that's
22nd.
like
Yeah, that's
that's
actually
actually
pretty.
kind of amazing the way that lined up.
I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty smart on each individual's hands insofar as they weren't really conflicting with one another.
Yeah, true.
Hmm.
And then that, so those three, and then with Judgment on the horizon. I had just gotten into the
Right.
Yakuza games, and Judgment is the new series that's like in the same world as Yakuza, I think, and by the same studio. That's coming out in June, so it's really like lots of heavy hitters. So I was like, I need to get my thoughts out on this stuff.
Hey, at
Uh,
least you have a nice like a two, like a a 1/2, a 1 to 2 month gap before Judgment comes out
Very true.
between Sekiro and this, so you have a
And
little
I
bit of
still
breathing
need to
room.
finish Sekiro, so I
Okay,
still have
maybe
some
not so
time.
much breathing room then.
Well, I think I'm towards the end of it, maybe. It's hard to
Okay,
tell. It
fair
seems
enough.
like it's getting there. But
Hmm.
yeah, so here's the thing. Here's like the context of this that made me think about this so much. They all have like pretty unique strengths, and they're all very different. And so that's what I want to talk about. So, um in short, Kingdom Hearts, I think where it nails it is thematically in
Hmm.
a lot of different ways. And we're going to get into this, but from things like tying all the different Disney properties together to tying all the different mainline characters together, and doing something that's pretty that seems particularly hard, and I think they do a good job with it. There's that, right? And then
Mhm.
Devil May Cry is just like the most dripping with style game I've played since like Persona 5, I think. Like it's just it's so flashy, and like the writing is so good and very oh, what's a good way to put it? Like it's just such in that style, and they stick to it, and it's kind of cheesy and it's kind of serious, but it's in a way where you're kind of in on the joke. And oh man, it's just
Ah,
like I think it nails it in that way. And then Sekiro is
the
mechanics.
hardest thing ever. It's like
Yeah.
bare bones, like literally the gameplay. It
Yep.
nails it right
Yeah.
there.
And I've
It nails
never
it so
and
hard.
yeah, and like I've never played a game like it. So I think they all it's what's so cool about them is they don't overshadow each other because they're all doing something different. But on that note, I played them in the order they came out, and of course, Rob, you and I both
Yep,
played Kingdom Hearts 3, so I think we should start there.
fair enough.
So,
Yeah, go for it.
uh yeah, I want to pose a question to you
Yes,
because
sir.
they're doing a lot they're doing a lot in terms in the age we live in where crossovers are a very very big thing. Uh
Avengers.
yeah, yep. Yep. And game out what a few days ago.
Yep.
Still less than a week ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, where that is like the big epic crossover, lots of different franchises coming together.
Hmm.
Uh that's a really it's a thing happening right now. And I would say uh Kingdom Hearts can stand against any crossover when in terms of that. I know you can make the arguments that it's doing some cheesy stuff and there's some plot holes, but to be able to uh create one like
Air
piece.
quotes cohesive narrative. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, like it's one game, right? And
Sure.
it has
Yeah.
all these crazy parts that don't fit together. And yes, it's not perfect all the time, but they manage to fit all the pieces together. And
True.
I think for Kingdom Hearts 3 that was a strength of it because while, uh there's a lot happening. There's a lot supposed to happen. It's like kind of an end, well, quote unquote end. I thought it was
It
an
was
end of a
supposed to be
trilogy.
anyway.
They they managed to still have all of your, Disney
You have your yeah,
representation.
exactly. You have your Toy Story going on there on the side, and then you have Pirates going on the other side. And the thing is, thematically, all of them all tie together towards the main themes that Kingdom Hearts 3 was trying to get to. Um, it's gonna take me a minute to actually remember because it's been several months. But I do remember thinking, oh yeah, because all of them revolved around the whole bit about hearts. After all,
Right.
one thing that really occurred to me, like what when it really hit me was like we were in the pirates world, and yes, I think I've already spoken on length about how much I hate the pirates world, but I was always impressed. At the very least, that world impressed me insofar as it managed to take the whole idea of like Davy Jones's heart, and it's like, oh yeah. we're going to incorporate this into this story that's all about hearts and losing them in Kingdom Hearts. I thought that was actually pretty cool of them. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't really think about that, but you're right. That was one of the times where if I think it's pretty easy to separate the Disney storylines from the, what is the unique to Kingdom Hearts storylines, but that was one of the points where they intersected because remember they're looking for the black box.
Yes.
Uh,
Yep. The whole
and
black box bit.
that's of course something that only matters if you care about the characters of the Kingdom Hearts like extended uh you know backstory, but still you had Disney characters talking about the black box because their interpretation of it was something totally different, and that you're right, that was pretty cool, and I didn't really pick up on it at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And even things where there were compromises made like Frozen,
Oh yeah,
right?
Frozen was the biggest disappointment one there.
It
And
was.
yeah, and you could. The thing is, you could really see that they were trying to go somewhere with the whole Elsa's powers could be darkness or it could be light, and then it just like never comes up again. You could tell that it was there, but yeah, because of reasons exactly. So, but yeah, even so, go ahead.
Yeah, well, and even so, like, I still felt parts of it were strong in that they were basically. I didn't see the movie, disclaimer, but what I am pretty sure that they were doing was following the plot of the movie for a lot of it. Uh,
Yep, I never saw it either, but I feel like that's what they were going for.
and
Same with
it's
Tangled.
yeah, and it's cool because you get to insert yourself in there because Sora is, eh, you know, Sora somehow fits in all of these worlds, right? Like just
One way or
because
the
he
other.
is like a lovable character. And so I still felt like from the strength of that, it still kind of carried it in a way. But I would think of that as a low point as well. I mean, we discussed this at length after we finished the game on our live
Yes, sir.
stream. But I think that just the fact that they managed to put it all together is what impresses me.
It is. It is very impressive, and insofar as, especially considering that, as you said before, there was a lot of directorial oversight, which may have stunted their ability to, you know, put things together as well as they could have. I mean, when you have such big IPs like Toy Story and like Monsters Inc., and people at Disney not wanting to like dirty those IPs, you gotta figure they had to do a whole lot of tiptoeing around just to appease both their overlords and the players, us as well.
Like to kind of strengthen that, what they did was I think they really brought justice to a lot of the designs. And that's to the designs of I mean, they're very faithful to the Disney properties, but then also to the characters from Kingdom Hearts that they introduced in like all these separate spin-off games, all the mobile games, a lot of them featuring, I don't even know if there was like official voice acting for some of the characters. Uh, I know they had to get new voice actors for some of them, but I think they stayed faithful to characters that were established either like, over a decade ago or ones that were only introduced in smaller games that no one played, or not that no one
Okay.
played, but that less people played.
hmm Okay, so I see where you're going with it, and I agree with you to a certain extent because, and I'm going to share Mark with the K's thought here because he said it before, but they're so I agree with you insofar as yes, they do respect them because they bring them all together, but at the same time, you do have characters that are underserved, and this really comes out especially with the organization. Like the organization really just felt like a plot device when you really think about what they were there for. They were literally there to like tease a little hint about hee hee. They showed up during the Keyblade War. The Keyblade War, and then you fight them for a bit, and then they disappear. They don't really do much at all in the story.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't change the fact that they do mostly show up here at this ending of sorts. So I'm not discounting that, and I do like the fact that they are here. It just feels like they didn't get their true due. I think like I can also say the same thing for Oh crap! What's her name? 358/2 heroine. Shoot,
Shion.
Shion. I feel so bad. I forgot her again. Now I feel sad. Now I'm depressed. Thanks, Mark, for
Shion
the
is the
save.
forgotten one. But you know
No.
what? We might get some Shion action in the DLC. So,
That is true.
fingers
That has me
crossed.
excited, man.
Yeah,
That has me excited.
for sure.
Both story wise and mechanics wise.
Yeah, and that's I think for the future what I'm hoping that they do is like in those areas where they don't nail it when it comes to the narrative and like filling in, what was this character doing during this time? We saw a glimpse of it maybe, but we don't actually know how they got to the place they were or whatever. That's what I hope that they do, with their new episodes that they release and whatever. And
Agree. I
uh
mean, we live in this world now where you can push updates to games. I really hope that they take advantage of it and,
yeah.
improve their single player game
But yeah,
and not pull like the Persona 5 card and just release a remaster with a new character and a couple of
so
new
you can
things in it.
so you can play the whole thing over your whole life 100 over
I
again.
mean, I'm gonna buy it anyway, but I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that business decision because all
Oh
that
yeah,
is selling
I know, totally.
another
But you
game
know
at
what?
full
Like,
price.
thankfully, we're not going the Kingdom Hearts 3 final mix path where it is a separate game. I mean,
That's true.
they're adding the same kind of stuff, or it seems like it, but it's going to be, to the game you already bought, which
Yeah, you're not buying a final
Oof.
mix version,
they
unlike 1 and
dodged
2.
they dodged a bullet. I think a lot of people would be mad if they tried to pull that
Very true.
nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Especially, I could like see the comment section. It would be like, "I paid for an incomplete game, and now you're shelling a new game at me." That's
Yeah.
literally
Oh
what the
yeah.
comment
Totally.
section would be.
Totally. Uh, but yeah. So you know what? That's still not not totally done yet, and so I'll be looking forward to that. Um, yeah. That's what I think was one of the better strengths of Kingdom Hearts. There's a lot of just me being a fan and loving anything about it, but I think it really nails some of that thematic stuff. But
And
now
I'm
I
just gonna
wanna.
drop one,
Oh yeah.
if I could. I'm just gonna drop one last sentence about it, though. Like you hinted at it at the beginning, like the introduction, insofar as there was a lot, there was a lot that this game had to do, and I think Tetsuya Nomura like did his best to try to appease as many fans as possible, and it was like a huge thing to have to deal with. And I think all things considered, even if I can get a little bit mad about how, like the middle was mostly padding, and I wish there was more of the last hour for like the rest of the gameplay. I can't discount Kingdom Hearts 3 for being able to accomplish what it did. And at the end of the day, it's still a very excellent game with a very good story at its heart, which clinches most of what we expected out of the Kingdom Hearts series
Yeah.
so far.
I totally agree with that. Uh, it is just hugely ambitious to do something like that with
Mhm.
the shadowy shadow of Disney staring down your neck.
Yep.
Being like you can't mess with this. You have to make sure you stick to. We're Disney. We can tell you what to do. So I think with all those considering all those things, I think they met those ambitions at least. For me, they did.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Yeah. So okay, so now I want to move on to Devil May Cry 5. I probably have the least to say about this one, but I kind of want to characterize this with a tweet that I did not make this tweet, someone else did. Um Someone named
Copyright
Kelly.
claim on
Yeah.
tweets. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have to credit the person who said this, but I think it's a good total like a good one line explanation for the kind of style this goes for that it just totally nails. So this is from Kelly Turnbull on Twitter. Every male character in DMC is like a different 12-year-old boy's idea of what the coolest dude is, and there's something very sincere about that. And
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
after
funny. But I can
playing
see
it,
it.
it's totally true. Because you play, all right, so I'll do my best to describe them. The three main characters of the game that you get to play as all three of them, right? The first one is Nero, right? And he's
Mhm.
this like young dude. He seems like maybe he's in his like 20s or something. He's like a kind of flippant, like arrogant guy. He's like riding around. He's the one who's riding around in that minivan with the girl. I forget her name. Uh,
Ah.
but she's like smoking cigarettes all the time, and he's just like hanging out the side of the window and jumping out to, kill a bunch of demons. And then he's jumping back in and putting her cigarettes out. 'Cause he's like, "Hey, cigarettes are bad for you." And it's just, I don't know. He's just like, he's got like
That's a
such a like
little
tough guy
confusing.
loner type of thing to him, uh, where he just thinks he knows everything and is the best and is constantly trying to, uh, prove it basically.
Ah.
And that becomes important in the story. So there's that, right? And then the second main character is V, who I don't know. Have you seen any of the characters or any footage of the game, Rob?
Besides the little bits that I saw while watching with you, I saw a little bit on a live stream as well. So not too much. So I'm not too acquainted with it. Although I do recall, like Nero was that, like he was like that white haired kid that kind of
Yeah,
looked like
right.
Adam.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. I do
Yeah,
recall that. I do remember Dante.
yes.
V, I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
So V is new and introduced for this game, I believe. But
Okay.
V is like the, uh, you know, tall, skinny emo dude with
Oh,
hair covering his face, and
oh, of course.
he's got like he's brooding. He's got like that, uh, something. What's a good one liner for him? He's like,
Uh,
okay, so here's a better way
the
to describe it.
world is ugly.
Yeah, yeah. He like reads poetry out of this book, and that's like you can do that to build up one of his meters. But like there's literally a button, and during the middle of a battle,
To read a
he'll start
line of
reading.
poetry?
Yeah,
It's a power up?
it's not. It's like you have like a meter for it's called like a devil trigger. Uh,
Oh,
Also
don't
devil
start singing
trigger,
that
great
song.
song.
I
Uh,
know, I know. I thought you would say it. No,
bang
don't
bang, you're
even.
my devil trigger.
Ah,
uh, but he's so in order to build that meter up, you can fight or you can press hold like R2 or something, and you
Mhm.
start walking. And he pulls a book out of his pocket and starts reading. And now I'm gonna read some poetry. Let me just pull it up.
You're legitimately doing that too.
Yes,
Wow.
if I
Okay.
can find it. If I can find it.
So what you're saying is you're role playing V right now.
Oh yes.
All right. Well, I already know what to expect out of you during New York Comic Con. Now,
Okay,
did
never
someone
mind.
seriously like upload the like actual text that he says, or is it from an actual book,
No, I don't think it's from an actual book. But the thing is, all I can find is a video of him saying it, not it
not
transcribed.
text?
So
Ah.
uh, maybe it's for the best that I don't read it.
Well, hey, that just shows that his poetry was way too eccentric to be typed out.
Yeah, but okay. So to continue, right? Like, so he reads poetry out of a book, in a very brooding way. He has these two companions that he's got like just that one personality trait, where he's like just the brooding emo guy with
Sure,
hair covering his eye,
I
and
can
then
picture it in my head.
yeah, and then he's got like these two demon companions. One of them is this bird, uh, that has a really eccentric personality, and they just like
Wait, the
play
bird
off
talks?
each other. Yeah, the bird talks. Then there's the
Oh,
another
okay.
one, which is like a panther or like some kind of cat, which does not talk, but the bird talks, and he's like a very eccentric, outgoing type of personality.
So it basically makes up for V's lack of eccentricity.
Exactly. Like
Gotcha.
they're the two extremes, and they like banter and it's funny. But yeah, he's got a very typical, if you think about it, like, um he like walks with a cane, but if you take the cane out of it, he's like your uh stand-in for whatever other like protagonist sad guy you might find in a Japanese game, right?
Haha,
So
gotcha.
there's that, also very cool. And then Dante, of course. So Dante is like older and grizzled now, and he's just like done with the bullshit. He's just like,
Brass tacks.
yep. Uh,
Gotcha.
it's so funny because the way that the game goes, once it's revealed that who the person behind uh the kind of like plague thing that's going on in the game is. And I don't know if you care about spoilers, but I'll spoil it if you don't mind.
I mean, I probably don't care. I don't know if any audience that may or may not be watching this, listen
Yeah.
this, cares.
Well, okay, so
I mean,
spoiler
that's not gonna,
warning.
Yeah, there
Spoiler
you go.
warning,
There
I'll
you go.
mention a reveal. It's revealed to be his brother, right? So
Oh.
it's basically he and his brother are feuding in this very like childish way where uh it you know have you seen that meme lately where it's the guy from GTA San Andreas, and it's like,
Oh, here we go with this
here we go
bullshit
again.
again.
It's
Yeah.
like he's literally got that attitude to it. It's like, God damn it, like I have to do this again. I have to kill my stupid brother again. It's really funny, and they really stick to it, and like it makes that game so enjoyable. The cutscenes are short. There's not nearly as much material in it as like a Kingdom Hearts 3, but man, uh do they really nail that style. It's great.
So would you call it more of a comedy? Well, not a comedy, I should say,
It's
but
funny. Yeah,
really it's
it's
just funny.
funny.
Like, for the most part, that's what makes it like the humorous writing.
Yeah. Dante is hilarious. Nero is like, he's funny in the way that he plays off of some of the other characters, but he's playing it straight. He's totally playing it straight. He's like, why will you not listen to me? Why do you think I'm not good enough? Right? And just constantly trying to prove that he is. And Dante's just like piss off, dude. I got big boy stuff to deal with, and it's hilarious. And then V is he's like kind of separate, but he's got his own like humor going on with his parrot guy, his bird companion guy.
So they all get their little bits to shine, at least comedically, I suppose. I don't want to call it a full-out comedy, just the fact that the writing is upbeat, and I guess that leads to its flair, right? I mean, even I could
Totally.
tell just by looking at footage. It's like it is a game that is meant to be taken as over the top. Like that's what it's going
It's
for. Yeah.
extremely over the top. And they definitely are self-aware because there's the whole thing where you can, I believe you have to unlock this, where you can replace all of the cutscenes in the game with their kind of live acted version of the cutscenes. Have you heard about this?
No, you'll have to actually tell me about this. Tell me
Okay.
more. What does this mean?
So they have. I forget because I haven't seen it in a while, but I don't think they're wearing like the motion capture suits. They're literally just like the voice actors, and these are the Japanese voice actors, are acting out the scenes, and they're probably doing that. Maybe they're just recording the audio out of it, but they're acting out the scenes physically. So they have they're like talking to each other, and they're doing these like action scenes. So what will happen is there's a really the title card scene is really good because it's like slows down time, and they're in the van, Nero and I forget her name, god damn it. But she's driving the van, and Nero jumps out and kind of does this slow motion, like almost like Matrixy kind of flying in between demons, shooting them with his pistols. And so what they do for the like live action version of this is
There's no
they'll be
slow mo.
talking in the car. No, they do kind of do the slow mo, and they'll move the camera to this like toy car on a stick. And then,
Oh, wait a minute. I think I might have seen footage of this somewhere. I think I might have seen some tweets about it.
yeah, it's amazing. And then they just have someone off camera like twirling the stick around.
Like literally, like that's how it's generated, like in game. Like it looks
like
like literally someone
mimic the actions of the cutscene.
Yeah. No, I think
so
I've seen this
funny.
before.
It's
That
so
that was
funny.
pretty funny. I thought there was just like some like random amateurs like thingamajig of like copying what the game does, but that's a
No,
legit thing that's in the game.
yeah, like
That's
what you
hilarious.
can do
That's
is,
hilarious.
yeah, like those are accessible in the game, and you can replace where those scenes exist. You could replace the cutscenes with those scenes.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
That's actually pretty unique.
I
Actually,
know.
I did
So
not realize that was a part of the base game. That's
yeah,
pretty funny. That's
yeah,
pretty good. I gotta look
yeah,
that up.
and that's yeah, you totally should. But that's
Hmm.
like the uh like like it really signifies what they're going for, and like they just I love it so much. Also, that game just in general is really fun to play. I mean, I think most people are in it not only for that, but for the combos and the higher difficulty levels and mastery. Getting your triple S rank.
Oh, the actual action RPG part.
Smoking sexy style.
Oh yeah, I
But
can see that.
yeah, and so this is my first. I should have said this before, but this was the first Devil May Cry game I've ever played, and so I'm experiencing it all at once, and geez, it is it really hits you very hard with with all of the stuff it's going for. It's very not subtle, but I think that's like a strength that it has.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you should totally check out those scenes, but that's really all I've got to say about Devil May Cry. Um Lastly, I want to bring up Sekiro because this is my favorite of the three, I think. Uh, while they're different and hard to compare, the three games, Sekiro is just I'm like enraptured by it.
And
It
it's
is
and it's
what?
not the game that's like smashed you over the head with its difficulty and like killed you to tears.
So so I have the cushion of having played and beaten three other FromSoft games before, Dark Souls 1, 2, and Bloodborne. So like I already knew that was going to happen. And I've gotten through the phase of my life where I like bang my head against the table and like throw the controller
Are
because
you sure? No, I'm
no,
kidding.
well, here's the thing. I've played a lot of Sekiro. I have not done any of that. The
That's
worst I
almost
did,
shocking.
the worst I have done was like maybe yell an expletive just out of, you know when you're like you're very close to beating a boss and you can like feel it, and then they just combo you with something you haven't seen before, and you just
You're just like, fuck.
yes, exactly. It was like exactly one of those.
But no controllers thrown out windows, no
Nope,
controllers thrown at monitors.
not
Hmm.
me. I
Okay.
don't want to buy a new PS4 controller. They're expensive.
That is very true, though. That's a good point. At least you've thought about it with your budget in mind.
Yes.
There's no reason a cost of a game should also include the cost of a controller.
Right? Make
It's
those things
true.
last. Mine's lasted me since I bought my PS4, so I'm gonna keep it going, keep my streak going.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Uh, so the reasons why, because so it's good that you bring that up, right? The difficulty, because that's something I already knew and expected. If it didn't have that, I'd be a little disappointed. 'Cause it's like I kind of know what I'm getting into and I'm playing this. So the thing that has like made it go beyond that is that just the gameplay, I feel like they just perfected it uh far past, what any of their previous games are able to like achieve, because in all the Dark Souls games and even in Bloodborne, but to a lesser extent, you get, you find weapons all over the place, right? And you just change your play style to, if you're using a one-hand weapon, if you're using a two-hand weapon, you can use a one-hand weapon in two hands if you want. You
Ah.
can dual wield. You can use a shield, right? You can use a bow and arrow or magic, anything. And so they, that means, I guess, when they're developing the game, they're spending less time developing the like nuances of using one weapon versus the other or the small little details. But since in Sekiro you have one weapon you start with, it never changes. It's just your sword that you know that you're using in one hand. uh they designed it so that like the animations are amazing. You could do so many different things, and they take all the different situations you can find yourself in into account, and then just kind of design the game where your fighting style has to be very aggressive even though you don't have a shield, and it basically forces you to learn to play that way, which
It
is
forces
very
you out of your comfort
risky.
zone. Is what it makes it sound like.
Yeah. Well, in Dark Souls, the there's a very common uh like sentiment that they have like kind of an elitist community who's like, so if I start playing Dark Souls, right? Let's say you're like one of the Dark Souls like elitist people. Not saying you are, but hypothetically. And I'm like, "Hey Rob, I just started playing Dark Souls. I'm getting past bosses so easily. It's like not as hard as people say it is." And then you're like, "What, what's your build, right?" And I say, "Oh, I'm wearing heavy armor and using sword and shield." You're going to be like, "Oh, of course, that's why, cuz that's like the easy way to do it. That's like the cheap way to win."
Because you're a scrub and you're playing cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
can see
get
it.
good, like play as a caster, play on, play like naked level 1 runs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got that about it. But
Mhm.
before Sekiro, it's like everyone's on the same level. Like you don't level up in that game. You don't get different builds or different weapons. I mean, you can customize your some abilities, but they're negligible compared to what your general fundamental tools are in the game. And
Hmm.
that just means everyone's on the same playing field, and like everyone's gotta deal with the risks, and you can't take an easy way out. So
So
it's
there's no
even
haughty
harder.
standing over the other person being like, your setup sucks, you know?
No, at least not that I've encountered. I mean, maybe there will be one day, but I can't even see how you can differentiate uh like the anything in a significant way. But
Mm.
it's just like you have to play it risky. The only way you can play the game is if you play it extremely risky. Uh and it's just like it's challenging in a completely new way, and like using that sword and parrying and stuff feels really great. And the world is awesome. They have cutscenes now. They have like fully, voice acted cutscenes. They've just like gotten the production on another level as well. Like it's just I love it so much.
So let me just ask you one last question here.
Yeah.
I just want to get your thoughts on it. I think I know your thoughts on it. Since we've talked about it before, but just for fodder conversation, this is also the game that engendered a whole lot of discussion about having an easy mode.
Mhm.
Do you have any
Mhm.
thoughts about that? Like
It's yeah,
in that regard?
it's so difficult. It it's difficult to have a concrete opinion on this because it's like, okay, who is it hurting to have an easy mode? Really nobody, right? I don't think it
True.
really hurts anyone to have an easy mode in a game. But then the thing is, I'm playing it, right? And I'm going on to you about how it's so exciting and so fun to play because the game kind of doesn't care if you want to play a certain way or not. It's like you kind of only can do it. You can only really play if you're willing to make the sacrifice of not holding a shield up the whole time. Because they don't even let you do it. They don't even give you the option. So that's kind of, I'd say, maybe similar in a way to difficulty options where they don't even give you the option to make it easy. So you have to experience it the way they built it in this one state.
The
And
way the devs intended, pretty much. It was
yeah,
designed
I
that
mean,
way. If they wanted accessibility, I guess they would have. Well, yeah, they would have done stuff like that. But they're not. That's not what they're known for.
well, yeah. So that's the thing. I think like if they wanted, if they wanted an easy mode in the game, they would put an easy mode in it. If we're talking about like accessibility, meaning like for people who have some sort of inability to like use the controller the way they mapped it out, like I'm all for that.
Hmm.
Colorblind modes or something. uh you know there's
Yeah, like physical
famously that
accessibility.
that
Yeah.
guy half coordinated can only play games with one hand. Like if they make it accessible to people who can play that way, right? I'm all for that. But if we're talking about like just an easy difficulty mode, like I feel like the genius of that game is lost a little bit. Not totally, but I think a little bit
Yep.
because it is such a they they tuned it in a very particular way, and I have to think that it's done that way on purpose, and not to be like we want to make it as hard as possible, but it's because they probably say like this is how, yeah, this is like how the game kind of, the peaks and valleys of the game come at these different points because of how the difficulty is intense in certain parts of it and whatnot. And if you like give an easy mode, or if you play it on an easy mode, maybe it the flow of the game, right? So I'm thinking about that, and so I would say if it existed in there, I'd be fine with it. But I kind of appreciate that it's just the way it is, you know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, so I mean, now I'm wondering for you as someone who hasn't played any of these games, who maybe I don't know what your take on games that are difficult in general are, but if let's just say like, you know, that's maybe a little off-putting, would you be more willing to like pick up a game like that if you knew it was
Well,
you could play through it without too much difficulty?
it's difficult from my perspective because I don't particularly mind if a game is difficult, especially if the point of the game is rotating around. Well, it's built for that difficulty in mind. I agree with you in the context with that context in that the game is designed that way. It should also be experienced that way. I mean, the only reason I haven't played games like that isn't because they're hard. It's more or less just a question of time and priorities. Um, but if we're talking about, you know, my take on whether I would be more inclined to play it if it had an easy mode, I don't think it would affect it that much because usually what determines whether I play a game is more story based. So, my picks for whenever I choose a game is usually based on whatever story the game is telling.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I appreciate games that have very good gameplay as well. I'm definitely don't downside that, but games like Sekiro, it's not that they're not my cup of tea, but it's definitely not one that I would immediately go out of my way to play right away. And I don't think having an easy mode would change that decision one way or the other. Yeah, it wouldn't really affect it that much. But if I were to get around to it, if my backlog didn't exist and I got to play it and purchase it at a good deal and had time to play it, I don't think I would like instantly choose the easy mode. Because also when I think about it, if I were to boot up a game and I saw that the only two difficulties were easy or hard, I definitely wouldn't pick the easy mode because then I would feel like I'm missing out on something, and then I would coast through the game. The only reason I would pick an easy mode is if I was, and this is like a recent example. The only reason I would pick an easy mode is if I was specifically trying to get through a game fast, which is literally what I was doing for a lot of my Kingdom Hearts run because I didn't have the time. That was the only reason I picked an easy mode. Otherwise, I would almost always pick whatever the default difficulty is.
Yeah.
Especially in
That's fair.
Sekiro's case. Yeah, they don't
I
have
do the
a
same
normal
thing.
one. Yeah.
I'm not it's funny. I love those games, but I'm not masochistic in that way for anything else. Like everything else I'll play the normal mode. Like I don't care. It's just like those games do something to me.
Well, no, I mean the thing is, like, especially with Sekiro, with games like Dark Souls, like they don't. Technically, So I mean, their normal mode is a hard mode. Their normal is hard.
Yeah.
And if that's the normal that they expect, then of course I'm going to play it on that difficulty as well. That normal is hard, therefore I still play it normally. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say this. You should give it a shot one day. Maybe maybe not anytime soon, but I think there is an actual story in it. Dark Souls has a very loose story, but this one has like more of an actual story, and it's really good. It's like this kind of old samurai shinobi, what is it? Sengoku era Japan.
Sengoku, yeah, yep. Is it a game of revenge? I can kind of see it that way.
It's kind of yes, but not in the way that you think. And it's
Okay.
it kind of goes places. It goes into the supernatural a bit. I'll say that.
I mean, considering the kind of stuff that has to go on, I don't imagine things that don't die in two slices wouldn't involve the supernatural.
Yeah, you learn early on you can resurrect yourself. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Let me just ask you real quick here while I have you. But how long? So you're not done with the game yet. How many hours are you in, and how long is this game supposed to be? 50, 40?
So I actually, that's a good question, and I don't actually know.
Oh, because you're
I,
not done. Yeah.
well, no. I mean, I haven't looked into how long it typically is, and I'm just going to estimate because I haven't looked at a play an hour count. I'm sure that it's somewhere in a menu in the game, but I haven't looked at it. But I'd say I'm probably 20-ish hours in, maybe more, because I can't really play more than an hour at a time because you inevitably run into a wall after you play for
Sure.
that long,
Yeah.
where you have to put it down. But the game came out. I got it day one, the end of March. It's now May 1st. So I'd say, minus some of the days where I didn't play, I'd say it probably nets out at around 20 hours.
20 hours. That's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And you still where does it feel like you're at right now? Half?
So no, it feels like I'm at like the later third of the game,
Oh, okay.
uh like I feel like I'm in act 3 of the game. I
Gotcha.
don't know how far into it I am. I think I may be just in the beginning, but there's like a significant moment happened, and now I seem to be in like a completely different section of the story, I guess. So I would say it will probably end up being, I mean, if I'm going at that rate, about 30 hours by the time I'm done.
Gotcha. Okay, that's not bad. That's actually pretty good for a game like that, and especially considering all the fighting you have to do.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
cool thing is I follow this this bot on Twitter that posts world record speed runs, and it posted one for Sekiro that's like an hour long.
What?
Which
Wow.
is, yeah, well, that's the thing, like, and it, no, you know what the crazy thing was? I think the definition of the run was like all bosses and all prayer beads, and prayer beads are what an item you get for defeating mid bosses. That means all bosses and mid bosses in like an hour, and
Damn. Without
that's just
breaking
to
the game?
say I don't know. I don't know if it was
Oh,
like
okay.
glitchless or not, but they're at least going to all areas to be able to fight those things. And in my head, I'm like, oh, well, I guess if you could breeze through the game, it would be pretty short. Part of the experience is the time it takes to retry and retry and retry boss fights.
It's the struggle.
Yeah.
It's the climb, as they say. Ugh,
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine. I got my double trigger in, so.
That's true. I just meet you back equal force. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's Sekiro. On that note, um, it just makes me very happy and all warm and fuzzy inside that we have all these great action games coming out, and I'm a devoted fan now. Like, I'm gonna go back and probably play some of the older Devil May Cry games, and I didn't play Dark Souls 3. I'm probably gonna end up playing that. So,
Well,
uh,
that just all comes after you get through Judgment, which comes out in a couple of
oh
months. So.
yeah, that's a priority. Yeah, it's too many, too many. But you know what? It's a good thing. It's an embarrassment of riches, and
And it's fun to hear you talk about too, because it's kind of one of the niches that I've only had a very little taste in, but it's always good to hear different perspectives on just the variety that's out there.
yeah,
And you've gone
exactly.
through three of the really good ones out there, so
Yeah, I
good
consider
stuff, man.
myself lucky to be
Hmm.
to be getting into it now. But yeah, so I think this is a good place to end it.
Yes, sir.
Any other or any comments or
Yeah,
anything?
it's pretty all good. This has been a very productive discussion. Way more fun than I expected it to be. So.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed me just ranting about 2 out of 3 of those games for like 20 minutes, but
No, man, it's all
that
good
was my
stuff,
plan.
and we'll see how we go moving forward. It's a time of change, and it's a time of just experimentation. So
Yep,
we're just gonna spitball and do whatever we feel, and however we feel was most likely what you're going to see.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
work in progress.
I'll second that. Lots of experimentation. We're gonna try new things.
You want to roll us out?
Yep,
Since
yep.
we don't have our resident rollouter here, too.
Yeah, I'll intro us and I'll bring us out. So that's Memory Slot A special episode. I'm not gonna call this the podcast because it's pretty different.
I've
Special
been
episode.
thinking. I've been thinking of calling it like a memory slot A production. We should think of a formal title and
That's
subtitle it a
fine. Well,
memory slot A
let's go with that
production.
for now. Let's go with that for now. See how it feels. So that was
Hmm.
our Memory Slot A production. We'll be probably back with another one of these, probably on a completely different topic within, I don't know, maybe a week or two.
Yeah,
And maybe not. We're figuring
we'll
it
have to
out.
see.
But
Yep.
until then, uh, go play Sekiro if you haven't. Go play Devil May Cry if you haven't. Go play Kingdom Hearts if you haven't. They're all great. So that's Memory Slot A. Now saving. Don't turn off the power.